continue our journey, living our best life. And do you feel like sometimes it's very difficult and challenging in this world that we live in to live our best life?
I like the two words, attitude and action.
All right.
The attitude and then altitude, the way you approach it. Some of my friends, when they go on vacation, their vacation start once they arrive. Let's say if they're going to Florida, their vacation start once they actually check into the room.
Mm-hmm.
It has always been my way of thinking. When I leave the house, I've already planned what Cracker Barrel I'm gonna stop at. It's probably not gonna be but about maybe 30 miles, 20 miles before I'm stopping for my first break to have breakfast.
Mm.
Then we probably gonna go a little few couple hundred miles, and we're gonna stop again and walk around in the Walmart and see what's going on. My vacation started actually when I got up, not when I arrived.
Yeah.
So I had a good day from the beginning.
All
So right
right.
now we wait till we get to the end, and then we start, the altitude of our mind kicks in. Oh, I'm on vacation. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can't get happy till I fight that traffic at 80 miles an hour and do all of that driving. And, not for me. Mine is when I wake up that morning. Where we gonna have breakfast at? What Cracker Barrel, IHOPs.
So you began planning your trip from the very beginning and not waiting till you get to the place where you decided that's where you want to vacate at, but vacation starts that very morning as you begin the journey of vacationing rather.
God said, Jesus said, I come that you might have my life and you might have it more abundantly. I believe our best life starts here and ends in glory.
Yeah,
Not
yeah, yeah,
necessarily wait till I get to glory.
yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm living my best life now on my way to glory.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. So even while we're here on earth, and then even in the challenges that we face and the trials and the tribulations and all the things that are thrown at us, we can still live our best life. The writer over in Lamentations chapter 3, at the very beginning of chapter 3, he lays out some very tough things that were challenging him or along with Israel, and how it was just very, very tough, challenging situations, hard to endure. As a matter of fact, at one point in time, he talks about how some of those challenges made him his teeth grind on gravel. And that's something that's kind of tough when you talk about your teeth grinding on gravel. Uh,
Wow.
right. That just even thinking about that, right?
Right.
But as he goes through the litany of things that was challenging him and Israel, uh, he comes to a point where he says, the steadfast love of the Lord. Well, first of all, he says, but this I call to mind. So first of all, he began to realize, sometimes when you have to think back and you look at what has happened in your life, and so it seems like he went back in his memory bank and he pulls up the times that he had seen God work. And so he says, I call this to mind, and therefore I have hope. So there was something that God had done in his life or within Israel many times over. He saw that, he felt that, and he said, even though I'm going through this challenge, even though I'm going through this difficult time in life, I still have hope. But my hope is in God. It's not in man, it's not in things, it's not in stuff, it's not in money, it's not in cars, it's not in houses, but my hope is in God.
Okay. And just building on what you're saying, and back to my original analogy, factoring in distractions.
Mm.
He remembered. In other words, so what he did, although my GPS says I can get to Florida in 6 hours and a half, I factor in some things that I don't know, so I have hope that I can get there in 6.5. But if I don't, the distractions don't destroy me.
Right.
And so many times life throws so many distractions at us that we didn't factor in. It just kills our hope. And it should
Wow.
not kill your hope in God. These are nothing but mere distractions. Sometimes the highway, there's a wreck ahead, and instead of me getting frustrated about the wreck, I thank God that I'm not in the wreck. You know, I
Absolutely.
go a little bit further, they repairing the highway. Instead of me getting mad that they're repairing the highway, I thank God that they're making the highway bigger. So I factored in some things. So therefore, I'm okay. I'm still living my best life. You know, maybe I got an apple in the back. I just pull it out, and while I'm waiting, the Bible said they that wait upon the Lord. While I'm waiting, I just might just nibble on an apple.
Yeah. So when you talk about, you said something that was very key at the very beginning when you talked about one of the things is attitude, the type of
Attitude.
attitude we have. Whether that attitude is positive or negative is going to help us to understand how that we can be able to live our best life, even in the midst of the challenges, even in the midst of the distractions. And again, as I opened up and talked about how the enemy wants you to be distracted, he
Right.
wants you to be aggravated. He doesn't want you to live your best life. If you're following God, he wants to do everything that he can to make you feel as bad as you can, and have all kind of negative thoughts. And so again, we got to go back and we got to recall all the things that God has done for us, the blessings that he's given us. And I believe that's why he said, I can recall to mind that I have, that gives me hope. When I think about, as the old folks would say, when I think about all the great things that the Lord has done for me, my soul cries out, hallelujah.
Right, right. You know, I think that I realize that what the enemy wants to do is destroy my hope that I'm going to have a good vacation, that I'm going to have a good time. So what he does, he sows something on the way to get there.
Mm,
That's the way I look at the fact that living my best life is that I've already factored in some of Satan's distractions.
right.
And I realize that what is that word I'm looking for? That fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
That when we start saying I'm gonna have a bad day,
Mm.
it won't be long for a bad day show up. It's what they call fulfilling prophecy. So I speak those things that are not as though they were, so that
Mm-hmm.
I won't have fulfilling prophecy. So I decree and declare that I'm going to have a good day.
Right. That's the attitude part of it.
That's the attitude.
You know, you
I'm going to
walk
have a
out the
good
door in
day.
the morning, you got to begin praising God and thanking him for another day. And you got to say, I'm going to have a great day in him, in the Lord.
And then add a little bit of gratitude to it.
All right. A little bit of
Attitude,
praise.
attitude without gratitude is not much. You remember I
Yeah.
said I'm grateful that I'm not in the wreck. I'm grateful that they're enlarging the highway. I'm grateful that I'm at least on the highway going in that direction. So you take all that gratitude and put it together. God says, look at him. He not despising the day of small things. He just happy to be on the highway. I'm gonna bless him in spite of it. I'm gonna let him
Um,
get there, you know. And I see people that just are unhappy. You can't have a good day if you're unhappy before you get out of bed.
right, right, right. Um, so again, we're looking at this word attitude is one, but when he talks about that hope,
I hope.
hope, hope is saying that I'm waiting on the Lord. I'm hoping, I'm expecting, I'm looking for God to do something great, something awesome, something spectacular in my life. And when you talk about speaking those things that are not as though if they were, and some way, somehow, when you trust in God, he begins to, as you say, bring those things to fruition. They begin to manifest because of my attitude, my gratitude, my hope, my belief, and my trust in him.
Let me throw another word called expectations.
All right.
Sometimes our expectations are beyond our abilities. God said he
Mhm.
gave each man according to his abilities. So now if my expectations is not to despise the day of small beginnings, I got an attitude of just being grateful for a little thing rather than have this attitude, this expectation for something big to happen in my life. I'm gonna be another Joel Osteen. I'm gonna be another Noel Jones. I'm gonna be another TD Jakes. I'm just glad I'm on Facebook.
Right there, you living your best life just by being on
Listen,
Facebook.
I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
Instead of me expecting 5,000 people to listen to me, I got 5. I'm just expecting 5 people. So
Yeah,
sometimes, if we live our best life, that we have to realize that maybe according to our abilities, we are living our best life. Because he said he gave to each man according to his abilities. I just want to thank God for what little ability he gave me. See, I'm grateful for that.
that's right. That's right. In all things,
And
we
all
ought to give thanks, right? And so we give thanks to him, even in the midst of the trials, even in the midst of the struggles and the tribulation and challenges and circumstances we face in life. We still got to give God praise because we believe, we trust, and we know that he's going to see us through and he's going to get us through whatever it is that we're going through. But the other thing that I like what he says is, he says, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases, my Lord. And so when you think about that, his steadfast love, in other words, God's love does not change. He has that agape love, that unconditional love that says my love doesn't change. No matter what you've done, how much you messed up, he says, I still love you. That's what happened to Israel. He still loved Israel in spite of all the stuff that they did. He continued to love them because that's God. He's not like us. We get mad and we say, I don't love you no more. I'm done with you. But God says, I have a steadfast love.
Okay.
And in that steadfast love, it's like a mother with being protective of her child.
Right.
Or a parent, not just a mother, but a parent being protective of their child. Because whatever they need to do to protect that child, they're going to go all out to protect that child. They're going to be there to meet that child's need. They're going to be there to supply and the resources that that child needs. They're going to do whatever. They're going to continue loving that child. No matter what they do, you still love your child. That's how God is. That's his steadfast love for us. That's how we can come to grips and understand that even in the midst of the challenges, I can still live my best life.
We would, as kids coming up, and that's for your day because you always had shoes. we only wore shoes during the school time, and during the summer we went barefooted. That was down in York. Kids didn't wear the shoes. My granddaddy said you can grow a skin, but you got to buy leather. So we didn't go out to play without not expecting maybe to thump our toe or maybe get a thorn or something. We expected bruises to happen. And when they did happen, we would go to grandma with her steadfast love, and she'd blow it. I don't know what it was about that blow, but that blow would just heal it. and guess what we do? We go right back out there in the yard and play some more. And we'd enjoy our best day. I'm telling you something, beloved. We got to understand that we gonna have some distractions. We're gonna have some pain, but it should not rob us of our best life now because we have hope. My hope was in grandma. She was always in the house. I could always depend on her. And even if I did get hurt, I always believe she could heal me.
Yeah. That's a good word, good words. And so when you think about that, what I hear you saying in that analogy you just used, or that example you just used, is so when those hurt, that agony, that pain, and the feeling of defeat comes, I can take it to the Lord in prayer and ask him to blow on it.
That's right.
And when he blows on it, it just does something. You just feel something. It may not heal right then, but it's on the way.
On the
It's
way.
coming.
I got hope.
Got hope.
It gives me
Yeah.
hope
Yeah.
of a future.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
Asking the Lord to blow on it. So he talks about that steadfast love, and that steadfast love is so important that we remember that God has a love like nobody else because he's God and he loves you in spite of you. He continues to love you. Therefore, you continue to trust in him. But the writer goes on to talk about even in that steadfast love, and he says that love, it never ceases. It never stops. As I said earlier, it's not like us. You know, we get mad at somebody and our love just stops and we don't continue. We get mad, we get upset, but God, his love never ceases. But then he says something else that I thought was very key, is his mercy never comes to an end. Good God Almighty. And he says those mercies are new every morning. Think about that. Don't miss that, family, because if you read that too fast, you'll miss your blessing. When God says, my love never stops, but my mercy never stops as well. And you get new mercies every day. You get new mercy. So now think about mercy. Mercy in the Hebrew is hesed. And what mercy is all about is God not giving to us what we're due. Because even through everything we go through, there are those times where we just mess it all up. But God says that's okay because of my mercy. It's just like, again, using a parent and the child example. You know, sometimes when your child has done something wrong, you want to punish them, but you have some hesed. You have some mercy on them. You hold back from them what they deserve. They deserve punishment, but you hold back from them. You give them, you said, okay, I'm gonna let you slide this time.
Well, even one more now. Grandma didn't let me slide, but her mercy was new every morning. Now she tell me, don't do this. Don't you go down there. Stay out of that. You know, and I would go anyway. And I would do exactly what she told me not to do. And when I would come home, sometimes I would run. And she would wait until I went to bed. and she would rain down holy wrath. I remember getting a many a beating while laying in bed. But the next morning, she didn't hold that against me. When the breakfast was done, she called my name. And she would, and my breakfast was ready. And she'd call William, and yes, ma'am, get up, your breakfast ready. Not one time did she write me off. Not one time did she give. Her mercy was new every morning. And that didn't mean I had to go through something to get it. See what is happening? We think because God punishes us, he don't love us. Because God don't withhold something from us, we say, well, you know, God don't love us. But sometimes because he do love us. Because she saw the danger in what I was doing.
Yeah.
I just saw the fun in it.
Right.
So I went on down there and climbed the trees and fell in the creek anyway. Come home with. See, all of y'all see, everybody wasn't born on concrete grass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody didn't have a mother that didn't know what it was to spat a rod and spoil a child and whoop you for old as well as new. And if you got a whooping for something you wasn't supposed to get a whooping for, saying, well, you're gonna do something tomorrow. But her mercy.
Yeah.
I never, one thing I never did doubt, out of all the many disciplinary actions that was taken against me, I never doubted mother's love.
Right. That goes back to what he's saying here. He talks about God's steadfast love. It never ceases. He talks about his mercy. It never ends. But he also talks about that those new mercies every day. Every morning you get new mercies. You
Lord,
start all over again each and every day. But there's something else that he says. He says, great is thy faithfulness. And when you think about that, the faithfulness of God, that's what we have to grab hold to that and understand that God's faithfulness, it never fails, that he's going to always be faithful. He's a God that does not lie, cannot lie, and will not lie. We have to learn how to stand on his promises, trust in his word, trust God for what he said he would do. He's going to love you. Steadfast love never ceases. He's going to allow you those new mercies every day. And then he is going to be faithful to you because you belong to him. You're his child. He loves you unconditionally. Now you have to love him back, and you have to have that faith in him and believe in him and know that God has you in his best interests.
As the writer of Lamentations said, he looked back, he remembered.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember grandmother cooking and putting it on the table and never sitting down with a plate. She made sure we all ate before she ate. Either that she ate little bites off of the stove rather than eat what the children were going to eat. So when I look back, I know what love looked like.
Yeah.
I know what love is. So some of us don't know what love is, and we don't know what love looked like because we waiting on love that manifests itself in some kind of fleshly way.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see love, unconditional love. I can see the love of Jesus. I can see the love of God. I know what God done for me. I know how God put up with me. I know how God called me to be who I am today, and waited on me to mature.
Yeah. Now, you just said something that I think is very important for a family to understand. When you talk about that unconditional love, you can feel it.
Right.
You can feel it. You may not be able to grab hold to it tangibly, but you know it's there.
I know
You can feel the very power. You can feel the very presence of God and what he has done. As the writer said, he says, but what comes to mind? In other words, when I look back and what I've seen God do, I know he loves me. I know he cares for me. And that's what gives me hope. That's what helps me to live my best life because of my belief and my faith in God and trusting him every step of the way. And not only that, what I've seen him do in the past. What have you seen him do in the past? You look back and know that he loves you in spite of what is going on in our lives today.
A preacher, I had a 65 Pontiac, and I am no mechanic, but I had three children, and the ends were not meeting. I didn't have enough resources coming in to take care of what was going out.
My Lord.
And I remember that old car started acting up, and they called it the lifters in the motor, something like that. You got to take the lifters out, little old things out of it.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was a carburetor. Carburetor wasn't, it was flooding.
Okay.
And I went and got me a carburetor kit because I didn't know nothing about no carburetor, but I didn't have no money. And I remember asking the Lord, I said, now, Lord, this is your car.
Mm.
And I said, it ain't running right. And they say that the carburetor bad, and I'm going to take it apart, but you going to have to put it back together. And I remember God guiding my hands as I took that thing apart. I remember God guiding me how to put the springs in the carburetor and how to put the jets back in it. And I remember putting that thing back together. And I remember looking up toward heaven like Elijah did when he called down fire. And I said, Lord, I don't know what this car going to do, but you know I ain't got nowhere to work in the morning. And I got to feed these children. And I just need your help. And I stuck that key in that thing, ignition, and I turned that thing over. And the first time it fired right up.
My Lord.
Now I'm going to tell you something. I saw what God could do that very day. That he can guide you. You don't have to know. He knows everything. God fixes everything. God can handle everything. And from that day on, I knew God could do it. I just needed to give it to him.
That's right. That's right. And that comes to the other part of what the writer of Lamentations says. He says, the Lord is good to those who wait for him.
Amen.
To the soul who seeks him. So we got to know that God doesn't operate on our time frame. And we have to learn how to be patient and wait on the Lord, right? As Isaiah talks about, he that waiteth on the Lord, he shall mount up like wings of eagles. He shall run and not get weary. He shall walk and not faint. There are times in our lives where God may not show up when you want him, but when he shows up, he's going to be right on time.
Sometimes we on that vacation, go back to the beginning, and those distractions come on the highway. Sometimes God just want to develop our patience.
Mm.
Can you not just wait just 30 minutes to get there? Can you not just just start fussing at the kids and the wife and just fall out in the car and nobody can get along just because the traffic ain't not moving? They didn't wait. Sometimes I say, God, thank you for making me wait, because if I'd have been there about 20 more minutes earlier, I might have been in that accident.
My Lord, that's right.
Sometimes I
That's
just have
right.
to thank God for making me wait. So it's all right to wait sometimes. Don't lose it.
That's good. That's real good, Pastor. And sometimes we get so impatient.
Mm-hmm.
We get impatient with each other. We get impatient with God because we feel like God's supposed to work magic. Every time we throw up a prayer to him, we feel like he's supposed to do it right now. God has a plan. He tells us that over in Jeremiah. He has a plan for us. He already knows what's going on, what's happening in your life. He wants you to depend on him.
Amen.
He wants you to trust him. And he never wants you to doubt who he is and his love for you. You just got to learn how to trust him. And don't allow other people to persuade you to do differently than what God has already instructed you to do. If God has said it, then you need to be obedient to him and allow God to do what he wants to do in your life, and don't be stubborn with it. Don't let people change you to be somebody else, because they'll do it. They'll change you by the way they influence you. And I'm not saying don't listen to people of constructive criticism. What I'm saying is sometimes we listen to people and they steer us in the wrong direction. And then we get all messed up in life. Trust God, because God has what? He has that steadfast love towards you, that protective parent. God has it better than anybody else. And he loves you unconditionally. And not only that, but remember, his mercies are new every morning, and his faithfulness is always there. Pastor, you have any closing thoughts?
No, I just think that you pretty much wrapped it up when we talk about God's unconditional, steadfast love, and it is directed towards you, so you can have your best life now.
Well, family, it's that time. We got to wrap it up. I want to close with this story. Story is told about a man that was walking through a field one day when he came across an eagle egg lying on the path that he was walking. He picked up the egg and he placed it in the nest of a chicken. As the time passed, the eggs in the nest all hatched, the chickens and the eaglet. The eaglet looked around at his brothers and sisters and noticed that he didn't look like them, walk like them. He didn't talk like them. He didn't fly like them. However, he was there when they were all born, so he just accepted the fact that he was different. One day, the eaglet and his brothers were walking down the path, and an eagle flew overhead. The eaglet, he looked up in the sky and he asked, "What is that?" The chicken replied, "That's an eagle. It is the most majestic bird in the sky. See how he soars high above the trees?" The little eaglet bowed his head and said, "I wish I could be an eagle when I grow up." The chicken replied, "Don't even think about it. You are a chicken and you will always be a chicken. In other words, you can't listen to the world, and if you do, they will eventually persuade you that you are just like them and you will never be anything else. Or you can choose to listen to God and receive him by faith, stand on his promises, and learn how to wait on him and trust him totally in who he says he is. And you can live your best life. Unlike the chicken, you will be able to soar like an eagle.
Amen.
Until next time, may the Lord bless you real
Real good.
good.